Good morning, all, and welcome to this week's episode of the CEO Momcast. We're doing something a little different this week, and we are talking to Hannah. She is the mom and woman behind Hannah's Money. I'm going to let you explain it to us. Let us know how you became a money coach and how you specifically tailor it for women.
Hey Sarah, I'm so excited to be here. I've been looking forward to this interview for a while. We had to reschedule a couple of times because of certain sicknesses, so it feels like such a treat to finally get to talk to you. My name is Hannah. I'm a money coach. I help ambitious women clear their blocks to money and success and receive oodles and oodles and oodles of money and find a state that I've come to call money bliss. I live in the south of Germany. I have a little daughter. My life looks pretty much like the sound of music. It's all rolling hills and beautiful forests. And yeah, that's me. I'm so excited to talk about money today and how to have lots of it.
And what got you into this type of business? Was it something you went to school for? Do you have an accounting background?
No, I went to school to study international fashion management. So when I graduated high school, like so many of us, I had no clue what to do with myself. So I thought, well, maybe one day I can be a business owner. And I definitely wanted to do something that was international because I really love to travel. And so I just decided I'm going to go study fashion. But as I was in university, I found myself really, really exhausted and depressed. I had an anxiety disorder. I was just recovering from my entire youth, I was pretty anorexic. I just learned to eat in my early 20s and I just felt really tired. I felt like a train had hit me. And it really freaked me out because I thought, wow, I'm at the beginning of my life. All my friends are getting these really cool internships and are planning their lives. And I just feel like I can't even get out of bed to go to class. And so I started discovering all these emotional healing techniques, and I really dove into the self-development world. And before I knew it, that became my job. I started my first business as an emotional healing coach, and that business did very well. And so over time, my clients started asking me about how I was running my business and how I was managing my money. But at that time, I really didn't feel comfortable talking about it. I thought, well, you're asking me, like me of all people, because I always kind of felt like I was winging it in business and money. I always kind of felt like because of my mental health struggles and because of my sensitivity and because of the fact that I'm not a very energetic person, I always felt like how I was running my business wasn't the proper way to do it. And so I always felt a little bit like secretive about it. I was like, well, yeah, but I'm just doing it my way, or I'm just doing it the Hannah way. And I'm not really sure. But my clients kept like poking and prodding and asking. And over time, I started creating little programs and teaching more on money. And it was really quite a success. My clients really loved it. And it was so helpful. And they started making all this money that over time I really shifted into money coaching and especially, how normie women, can have an extraordinary financial life. Women who are sensitive, women who are introverted, women who've experienced difficult things. What makes my work a little different, for example, is that most of my clients work like 2 to 3 hours a day. I find that that is plenty for many of us who've got a lot going on. And some of my clients might make between 20 and 50K working 2 to 3 hours a day. And that's something that I used to feel really ashamed about, the fact that my business was so lean and I didn't have many employees. And over time, I started to see that maybe that was actually something that could be useful, that maybe it's a good thing that I don't have that much capacity to run a big business. And it kind of forced me to run a really lean business.
Now, to play devil's advocate here, I know that my listeners, and especially all moms who are in business, see this saturated field of work 2 to 3 hours a day, make this much money, Amazon affiliates, MLM programs, things like that. What is different about what you are teaching?
Yeah, I really kind of stumbled into it because I couldn't do it any other way. You know, I I grew up in the south of Germany and the culture here is very much work hard. Like work hard, hard, hard. Like people don't really take any time off here. It's really there's a saying here, it goes, schaffe, schaffe, Häusle baue, which means work, 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 build a house. So I always felt this overwhelming sense of just guilt. And I called myself lazy and like, I'm never going to amount to anything and like too broken emotionally and life has been too hard for me and like money is always going to be difficult. That was my mindset for a long time and that really freaked me out. And so I really didn't have more than 2 or 3 hours of focus every day, like if at all. I couldn't work more. I didn't go into this feeling like, oh, there's people only working this amount of time, making all this money on the internet. I was more like, my situation is different because I don't know when the next depressive episode is going to hit. Like, I can't work a 9 to 5. I can't have a consistent schedule. Sometimes I just can't get out of bed and I need to be making sure that I run a business where I can serve my clients, at excellent levels and at the same time have this freedom to take care of my emotional health when I need it. And so for me, it really felt like a workaround. And I always felt like, well, once I heal more, then I can work like a normal person. Then I can feel proud of myself. Then I can work like 6 to 8 hours every single day, and then I don't have to feel this shame anymore. But for me, it really was out of necessity. And then, over the years, I started losing some of that shame around how I was running my business. And especially when my clients said they actually liked it, I was like, okay, cool. I'm happy to teach you exactly that. And then now that I've become a mom, it's really nice because I can spend all this time with my daughter and I'm actually really present with her. And so it is a very interesting plot twist in my life where I felt like my biggest flaw became something that actually, became useful for me.
So not to give away all your secrets, but what are some of the techniques or courses that you are teaching women? Is it about money management or you're just teaching them how to maximize profits?
Yeah, so the program I'm known for is called Money Bliss. And so I'm an energy healer, an emotional healing expert, first and foremost. So I'm clairvoyant too. So I read my clients' energy fields and we clear away any places where it feels like they can't receive money or money isn't safe to have, or they have to work really hard for money, or they have to bend themselves out of shape to make money, or that money can only be made at certain times of the year. That's something that I cleared with my clients recently over the summer because some of my clients held the belief that nobody buys over the summer. Everybody's on vacation. Everybody's busy, chasing their kids around the backyard. Like nobody buys. And so we just clear any of those ideas and beliefs and blocks in the way of them really having a healthy, abundant, flourishing relationship with money. And then I also teach timeless money and business best practices. Those are just some things that I discovered. I've been in business for over 10 years. I've worked with thousands upon thousands of clients. I've led tens of thousands of group calls and private sessions and been a guest expert on so many masterminds. So throughout all this time and overseeing all my clients' different businesses and money mindsets, I've just kind of discovered these timeless principles, these timeless money best practices. And you can think of them as recipes. So if you want to make chocolate cookies and you've never made them before, right, it helps to have the right ingredients and a recipe to follow. And then, you're going to get great cookies. Maybe the first time around, they're going to be a little weird or, not so pretty, but you're going to get chocolate cookies. And so I provide these recipes in my programs, a recipe on how to add 6 figures to your savings every single year, how to invest your money if you're extremely risk averse like me, things like how to create an irresistible easiest offer for your business, how to price it, what to name it, things like what do I do every single day, those 2 to 3 hours that my clients work every single day. I give them an exact list of what to do and what to say and what to post. And so a lot of it are done for you resources like use these email subject lines, use these social media hooks, just use this recipe and just implement it and trust that it works. Because so many of my clients come to my programs and they have the same belief that I used to have of like, money is too overwhelming. And we've got this very emotionally complicated relationship with money where it just, for me, it always felt like I was being punched in the gut anytime I engaged with money. And so what helps many of us is to just have these recipes to implement. I always say making money is just like baking. Just take a recipe, decide what you want to bake, take a recipe, implement it, and you're going to get the happy outcome.
So most of these programs are for people who already have businesses, kind of teaching them how to streamline things and maximize profits, or are you working with people who are interested in starting their own businesses as well?
Yeah, it's usually people who are either on the verge or in the process of setting up a business or people who have businesses. It's usually in the first 3 years, 3 to 4 years of being a business owner that people join my Money Bliss program. And then my private coaching clients are clients that have been in business for a long time. And they usually just want energy clearings. They would just want to have their own money blocks cleared, funky energy in their business cleared, and they want to make, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times as much money. And then we make that happen together.
Okay. So, you talked a little bit about how you got into this, obviously a total change in what it is that you went to school for. Was it hard to break into this industry since it was something that was sort of new at the time? I mean, now there are lots of coaching options and money managers and people teaching courses from home. So how difficult was it for you to come into this industry?
The beginning was really easy. So maybe you've heard the joke of like the 22-year-old life coach. Like, I wish I had the confidence of a 22-year-old life coach. That was me. I was the butt of the joke. I was the early 20 something, that had a life coaching business that was doing very well with all these clients. And it really is interesting. I get this question a lot of like, how the hell did you have the confidence at the beginning? And what I always want to remind people of is that it's a learned profession. Just like if you're being treated by a 19-year-old nurse in hospital, they've been through extensive training. They know what they're doing. Like it is a trained profession. And I have certifications in life coaching and trauma resolution and family constellation therapy. I've done so many trainings. So even at the very start, you know, I would hope that the quality of what I was providing and that the results, really spoke for themselves. I got lots of referrals. I was a columnist for a magazine. And so my client base started growing quite quickly. And so many people would say, "Oh my God, you're so young." But then they signed up to work with me anyway. And so over time, my age did become kind of redundant. And I just reminded people of, just think about, is this work giving you what you need? Is this work giving you what you want? And then let just my age be something else. And I think for many of us, there's always something, like whether it's our ethnicity or it's our height or it's our, body shape, or it's, whatever we feel disqualifies us for doing this work. But I think at the end of the day, if you're providing excellent service and your clients are getting the results that they want, there's always going to be a lot of demand. And then when I shifted into money coaching, there already was demand. My clients were already asking for it. And so it was just up to me to really make sure that, what I was providing in, especially my Money Bliss program, which is, my best-selling client favorite program by now, that it really was delivering on all the promises and everything that my clients needed. And that is work that, all of us have to do as business owners.
So tell us about the Money Bliss program. Is it an online program or like a self-study manual?
Yeah, it's a 6-month online program. It really is a deep dive into the energetics and the art and science of money. In this program, we clear all of your money and success blocks, and we implement the money best practices, the recipes we talked about previously. Many of my clients double their income within the first 2 to 4 weeks, and many of my clients set up new businesses in this container. Many of my clients just really master marketing and sales in this container. Many of my clients really heal their relationship with money. I love running Money Bliss, and I I especially love the name because I remember when I first, was being asked to teach on money, I always felt like I kind of rolled my eyes because I thought, oh, so but there are so many people talking about money, and it's always like, make more, buy the big house, buy the big car. And I was like, that's not me. Like, I'm a minimalist. If you walk into my home, some of my friends ask, where are your clothes? Because they only see this like tiny chest of drawers, like stuff. I don't love stuff. Like, I'm not a stuff kind of person. And so I often felt like, well, I'm not impressive, Like what I really, really, really wanted was peace of mind. What I really wanted was security. And what I most of all needed was the space to get to tend to myself emotionally when it arises. And so, um, yeah, and so I kind of stopped rolling my eyes a little bit because I thought, well, what I really wanted doesn't exist anywhere. Like, I don't want the big trappings. I don't want the status symbols. And maybe there are more people out there who know that they have a really messed up relationship with money, that they really actually can't escape money for the rest of their lives. They're going to have to interact with it in some way, and who are longing for a relationship with money that is fruitful and healthy and abundant, but that doesn't constantly have this like, you're not enough, you're not making enough, make more money kind of stress sitting in the back of their necks. You know, like
Mhm.
in like I always say, like the outcome is really money bliss. Like the best outcome that you can get from this program is to not really be thinking about money at all anymore. Like that's how you know that you've arrived, when you don't really think about money, when you think about everything else that is more important than money.
So, with the shift that we've had in the economy, I'm not sure if it's hitting Europe as bad as it is the United States. Um, have you seen a different need from your clients? Because even those that are living minimally or trying not to live a lavish lifestyle, it is hitting everybody. Even if you were accustomed to a certain lifestyle, you aren't able to do that these days.
Yeah, it's really fascinating. I would say that it hasn't hit Germany as hard. Germans are definitely complaining, and I'm like, you people, because I lived in London when Brexit happened, when COVID was happening, and London was hit by a crazy and like insane, like everything doubled overnight. And just like you could just feel the energy change. And I'm feeling the same with my American clients, especially those, I've got some clients who live in California, I have some clients who live in Arizona, I have some clients who live, in New York and Jersey. And it's especially in, the quite expensive areas that people just feel like their heart starts beating and they're like, because they've got kids in school and they don't necessarily want to move to a different place. And so I just
Right.
want to acknowledge that, those economic shifts, like, can be so incredibly stressful. And the thing that I found, helps so many of us is to not source our sense of safety from outside, because we can't know what the interest rates will be and we don't know how the economy is going to unfold. And it's very likely that we're going to be going through tough times again in the future, but the one thing that we can equip ourselves with are really healthy skills with money, so that when something comes we can keep our eyes wide open and find really creative ways to take excellent care of ourselves financially. And so within all of this upheaval, I don't want my clients to look too closely at what's going on outside, but more, how can I resource myself with all the skills and all the abilities to thrive in this economy, even while it feels like we're in a squeeze. So I want to acknowledge that many of us are feeling like we're in a very intense squeeze right now, but the one thing that's going to carry you through is your skill set around money.
Okay. So, basically coping mechanisms for the ups and downs of the economy. Because you are right. Even if we settle this out in, 2 or 3 years, this is going to happen again 10, 15 years down the road.
Yeah, and we don't want it to be traumatic. I've had a client who lost everything during the 2008, economic crash, everything, businesses, houses. The entire family filed bankruptcy. And when we started working together, her entire body was in a really intense freeze state. And there was this feeling of like, why bother? Why even bother grow my business? Why bother have any hopes or dreams or longing for my finances? Why bother even rebuilding it if everything can be wiped out in a moment? And so many of us really feel like, crap, the rug could be pulled out from underneath my feet at any time, especially those of us who were business owners during COVID. That was just, I mean, all of us are sick of the word unprecedented, but that's the word, right? It was such a unique time for many of us. And so part of it is also, we want to breathe through these different, chapters in our money story and make sure that we don't get stuck in really traumatic places. We want to make sure that we're riding the waves and that we're braving it and mastering it to the best of our ability. Because if we go through really traumatic money upheavals, those things really can get stuck in our bodies and limit us in the future, even when the times are better. Because that is the big, that's something that we really don't want to happen when the economy takes a positive turn and everything starts to work out for the better. We don't want you to still be, like a deer in headlights, still kind of reeling from the past, but we want you to use those fruitful times to really grow your wealth. And this is where the emotional healing piece is so important.
Okay. So it's kind of a well-rounded program. It's not just focused on money, it's focused on the person as well.
Yes.
Okay. Now, are you just teaching the skills or are you teaching people to be money coaches like yourself as well?
No, I am
Okay.
not teaching anybody to be money coaches. I know that's so popular right now. I've got a bunch of friends of
Yeah.
mine who are leading coach training programs,
Okay.
but no.
Okay. If someone were to slightly model your business and start their own, what are not necessarily words of advice, but what is something that you had to learn and shift away from? And I guess some advice. What was a good thing? What was a bad thing?
Yeah, I've one of my mentors always says failure is the path to success. And so, yeah, if I look back at my entire history as a business owner, it was like failure, 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 failure. Was that a success? Maybe to some extent. Failure, 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 failure. But I started my business thinking, how hard can it be? The world is full of entrepreneurs, and I had no idea. No idea. So I was just, failing my way through my business journey. And the biggest lesson that I had to learn is to just stop looking at what everybody else is doing and to just trust that my business chose me for a reason and trust that my business has full contracted clients that are ready and excited to work with me and to just, take excellent care of the clients that I have. So one of my big downfalls was that I kept looking at everybody else and was like, do I need to be like her? Do I need to do it like this? Do I need to do it like that? And so when I just kind of served the clients that were right under my nose to the absolute best of my ability, got them excellent results, made them really happy, everything became much easier from there.
I love that you say that because I think that that is just something that we are set up for from day one is to always um not necessarily model other people, but you always heard it growing up. Why can't you be more like them? Why this person's so successful or this person went to this university or this or this or this. So I think it's great that you say that you kind of need to block everybody else out and focus on what you're doing.
Yeah, it's hard though.
It is.
I feel like I know I should have a strong sense of self. I know I should just walk my own path. I know that, like the world is so distracting, right? And we live in this financial world that always says you're not enough, you're not earning enough, your business isn't big enough, you don't have enough clients, you need to be, your house isn't as big as that person's, and your car isn't as fancy. And like we live in this energy of not enough, not enough, not enough. And it's so easy to believe that, and it really takes effort to continuously come home to this feeling of overflow and abundance. And, maybe I'm enough, maybe all is well, maybe money is allowed to flow abundantly in my life, maybe I can get paid for being me. And so it takes a really strong sense of self to opt out of the money stress that pretty much all of us have been raised in and to really find a peaceful, healthy, you know, more like something that just feels more comfortable with money.
Do you think that that comes from some level of financial freedom? When you hit a certain point, like you said, having that healthy savings to make sure you have something to fall back on. Um, do you feel like some of that stigma around trying to be the best kind of can go away because you're comfortable now?
It did for me.
Okay.
It really did for me. I remember being in my early 20s and thinking, well, there's no room for error with me because I don't come from money. Like nobody in my family has money. Like nobody can help me out. If I make a mistake, I go down. Like nobody
Mhm.
can help me. And I looked at my friends who had, even if their parents weren't wealthy, but just like normal people who had a little something, I was like, man, wouldn't it be nice to not constantly feel like I just constantly felt like I was choking, like I couldn't breathe. And so I remember when my savings, I will never forget this number. It's such a random number. My savings hit 70,500 for the first time. And I felt this ripple of relief go through my entire body. And sometimes I say money is my favorite antidepressant because in this moment, it really was that. just the knowing that I had some money, that I could buy my food, and I had, enough money for rent for the next couple of months. And, I could even like, ease down on the marketing and on the sales and on, all the pressure that I was feeling in my business, and I could just let myself be. And I thought to myself, oh my God, is this what rich people feel like? Who don't constantly have to work for more money, but who actually have money. And so that's one of the core tenets in Money Bliss that, I incorporated was how to become somebody who has money versus somebody who always has to get more money. And for me, it was an incredibly healing sensation. It really changed how my body was feeling. When the money started going away and I could like sleep, I slept through the night. I didn't wake up constantly worried about where the money for rent was going to come from. And that was revolutionary for me. And so, I love saving and I love growing my investments and I love growing my net worth. I just love the freedom that it gives me so much.
I love that you say that because it is so true. Money is one of the leading causes of divorce. Like you said, not sleeping, stress, anxiety. Most of us don't live these days with 6 months worth of savings to fall back on because of the lifestyles that we lead and how expensive things are. Um, so I can imagine that, you're hitting that certain, no matter what your target is to have in your savings account, but when you hit it and you're just like, oh, I feel like I can finally breathe. It's like the debt snowball too, right? As you see it go down, your stress level goes down. It's what do they say? A lot of people say money is the root of all evil. So I guess trying to develop a better relationship with it makes more sense than just looking at it as a bad thing because it's never going to go away.
Yeah, that is true. And I've definitely thought about moving to the woods and joining a commune. But even there, you have to trade. And even there, you have to barter. And even there, this whole like, worthiness conversation that many of us are having with ourselves, like, that's not going to go away. So I thought to myself, well, crap. I think it's time to face it. And the thing that I was so worried about was my physical health around money. I was like, oh, I'm going to be the type of person who's going to have a stomach ulcer. Like if I ever get cancer, it's for sure about my money worries, like for sure. Like I knew that, I was in a very, very, very bad place emotionally and mentally with my relationship with money. And so many of my clients say the same, where they're like, I know all this tension and my bad posture and all these unexplained aches and pains that doctors can't, figure out that it's psychosomatic, it's all the stress that I'm holding. And it's really nice to give our bodies the space to feel safe. And for many of us, you know, for me, definitely in my relationship with money, I've experienced for the very first time what it's like to feel truly safe and to take excellent care of myself. It was also an exercise in me really listening to what I truly needed and learning to provide for myself in really mature ways. And so for many of us, we never felt truly safe or we never felt truly free. And so our healing with money is an opportunity to create that.
So, would you recommend Money Bliss as a course for somebody starting out, or do you have other courses that are kind of for beginners, maybe not necessarily business owners yet, toying with the idea, but not sure how to financially set themselves up to be there?
Yeah, there are really just two options to work with me at this point. I have a book. How about so one of my offers is a book. It's called Wealth from Within. So if you're listening to this and you're like, something about my relationship with money just doesn't feel good. Even if you can't put your finger on it, even if this, conversation leaves you more confused than ever before, if somewhere in your body it feels like it just doesn't feel right. And all of us have areas of our lives that we've mastered. Maybe you're an amazing parent or you're amazing at cooking or you're amazing at being organized. Like there's something that you're amazing at. Money is supposed to feel just as flowing as that area of your life. So if it feels like something with my money just isn't right, maybe the first place to start is to read the book. And then the main offer that I have really is the Money Bliss program. It is the program that everybody goes through, even my clients who don't run businesses yet or don't have a desire to run a business just yet. Even people who just want to clear up their relationship with money, Money Bliss is the place to start. And then over time, many of my clients want to transition into private coaching. But Money Bliss really is the basic money education that I wish I would have had.
Okay. So obviously businesses are forever evolving. Where do you see yours in 5 years? Is becoming an author just something new you dove into, or?
I would love to write more books. Now that you're saying it, yeah, I would love to write more books. Writing books makes me so self-conscious because it feels like if I, create content or if I create programs, I can always improve them and nobody will see. But it's really crazy to think that this is a printed version. And I see it everywhere, like in all my friends' homes, and they're gifting it to people. I'm like, oh crap, what if in 20 years I'm gonna look back at this and just, feel a little self-conscious about it, because it's just
Right.
out there and you don't know what people think when they read it. So it's a big deal to write a book. I'm really proud of this book though. I don't cringe about it just yet, but I would love to be writing more books. I think I'm gonna need to boost my confidence a little bit and just go do it.
So there's more topics that you feel like you need to get out there. You didn't cover everything with this one.
No, I feel like I especially want to tell more stories. I feel
Okay.
like so many of the money stories are more inspirational, and I want money stories that feel comforting. Like I would have loved to read a book where there's just good news about money, just people's positive stories about money, but in a way that's really relatable, where it feels like, okay, that's a normal person. This person like also has a messy living room from time to time, and she doesn't do her dishes every day, but just real beautiful stories. I actually wonder if it would be nice to collect some of my client stories and actually, interview my clients and put together just a beautiful feel-good book on money. Just something that we can read before falling asleep at night to feel cozy and comfy and like a little stuffy in our arms.
That's such a great idea because I think myself included, when we buy these self-help books or books that are pointing, trying to help us figure out situations like money, life, depression, things like that, we look at it as like, okay, this person might be an expert in this topic, but what do they know? They're not in my situation. And it
Yeah.
almost feels unrelatable, no matter if they literally started 10 years ago in the same spot as you are. But you think when the person's reached that level of success that they can't possibly know where you're at.
Yeah. And it always feels like a task to do. Like I'm reading
Mhm.
this book and I have to get my shit together and I have to
Right.
make all these resolutions and it's going to be different this time. And I remember when I was pregnant, I read this book and it was really just positive birth stories. It wasn't how to do hypnobirthing. It wasn't how to stretch your body for birth. It wasn't like no how to. It was just people stories. And they were just a variety of stories. And everybody in the end felt like they had had a birth that they could, you know, cope with and enjoy to some extent. And I remember being pregnant and I just had this book under my arm. Like I was taking it everywhere with me. I always had this book kind of holding it and reading it and snuggling it. And I was just holding on to this book so tightly and just reminding to myself that, you know, it's hard to say. My intention with giving birth was just to enjoy it no matter how. So even when I was in excruciating pain, I still kind of I was just like, okay, my intention is to enjoy even the hardness and enjoy even this and enjoy even this and just be present for it and let myself experience it. And so those stories just really helped me anchor in a very, like, it just didn't feel like I had to do anything. It just felt so comforting. And I remember when I first really realized that I needed to shift my finances, I didn't have any, like nobody talks about money. And I just felt like I was alone and knowing nothing, feeling really stupid, feeling like I wasn't disciplined enough and not smart enough. And, all the like complicated financial things were just so confusing for me. And I just felt so ashamed about it all. And if I had had just a book of like regular people telling me about their everyday lives and how they manage their finances and what feels good for them and what doesn't, and the personal choices that they're making and why, even if I don't agree, just something really relatable. I think that would have taken away a lot of my shame because now that I've worked with so many people, I know that I'm not alone. I know that I'm not like, flawed beyond repair and can never be great with money. Now I know that it's just a skill set. Now that I know that it's okay to have my personal preferences around money, that it's okay to be introverted and you can still run a great business and it's okay to not like taking risks and you can still invest your money. Didn't know that at the time, and so I think those stories would have been really helpful. I mean, you're giving me
Yeah.
a great idea right now. I'm really wondering if
Well,
I,
I remember growing up and my grandfather was super successful, but his one, I look at it as a downfall because I was looking for help in those areas, but he would never share his secrets. He didn't want to be responsible for anybody else losing their money or investing in something that wasn't a great investment and getting blamed for it, which in hindsight, as an adult, I do understand. But there was never this wealth of information of what you should do. And I feel like if I had been given those tools in my early 20s, I might be more financially set now. But because I had no direction to go with that, I was too scared and I wouldn't. It wasn't, you get this tax return every year and you usually are like, well, let's pay down some debt. Let's do this. We have a project, but we don't ever invest it. So we're not growing our money, we're just using it.
right.
But we were never taught to do that. So the fact that we talk about it now and people are trying to learn to be better with their money and setting up generational wealth, that is not necessarily, my grandfather owned a hotel chain. We've taught you how to invest and we've invested in, real estate and things like that. I think it's great. So, I mean, any direction for the upcoming generations, because if we're finding this hard, it's going to be even harder for them.
Oh my God, yes. Especially it feels like the comparison is just getting worse and worse. One of my clients has a teenage son and she's like, always talks about the TikTok finance education. When she says, oh no, we're not getting an indoor sauna. He's like, are we broke? Are we poor? Because everybody on TikTok has an indoor sauna and everybody has these like curated homes. And she's like, is anybody living in reality anymore?
Right.
Right. And so it just feels like the distortion of reality is just going to get worse. And so I really want to steer in the other direction and, keep it more realistic for all of us because this is real life.
It is, yes. And you can't, you might put a sauna in your house one day and then have it up for sale on Marketplace the next when you realize it wasn't a sound financial decision.
Yeah. But it's just having these conversations, I think, is so helpful because some people might really get a sauna and love it. And some people
Right.
like me might get a sauna and hate it.
Right.
But it's just let people tell their stories with money because it feels like my body always resonates with something that somebody is doing. And then I'm like, oh, I want the same. Oh, this feels good. Oh, if I were to try this on, I think this would really benefit me. And so
Right.
I'm not looking for like the one way to do it. I really just want to hear stories so that I can try some things on for myself. Something that really works for me is to be a crazy saver. So when somebody tells a story about how much they love saving, I'm like, oh, I can recognize myself in the story because I love it. Or minimalism. I just love minimalism. I love not having to clean because there's not much stuff to clean. I love it. I'd rather
I
travel.
wish
I'd
I
rather
could
have
convince my
amazing
family.
experiences. It's tricky with children. Oh my God. I just drove
Right.
away an entire car full of stuff to the recycling place and it just the freedom is amazing.
I know. And you do feel great after you do it. And then you come home and you're looking around and there's still so many things.
And there's Christmas around the corner, so you get to
Right.
organize more stuff soon.
Right. Now, what do you foresee for 2025 with money? Are we going to be seeing more people saving, more people investing, taking risks?
My feeling is that we're not done bullshitting ourselves just yet. Since we talked about the TikTok financial education and the comparison, especially in the online world and the extreme display of wealth, I think we're going to move away from. Um, I love the 90s and I love Gilmore Girls and I love any shows and movies that depict like real people. Do you remember when
Right.
people in movies had like their faces moved? Oh,
Right.
love it. Like, can you find that anymore? Like anything new on Netflix, it's always just people's faces don't move. But I love real life and I love the imperfection of like real humans. And so, but I think we're not done just yet. I think we have to go a little bit more crazy with the consumption and the consumerism and the idealization of brands and the needing to show off and all of that before we kind of take the other turn. And I think that then there's going to be a strong trend to go back to remember what it was like in the 90s, like the norm core kind of thing, that most people experience as their everyday lives anyway. But I think we're going to start to appreciate and embrace that a little more and maybe even, downsize or find a healthier pace with money. But I can imagine that many of us still need to be in this space of, here's how my life should look. Here's how my finances should look for a little longer before we're, as a collective, really willing to ask ourselves, what truly matters to us. So
So
I
we're
think
still gonna see the trend of consumerism because that's a
in
big thing
extreme
right now.
ways, like that's
Okay.
that's my feeling right now. Yeah, especially in English speaking countries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? The United States is a very consumer driven country, and the whole keeping up with the Joneses. I mean, you're seeing more and more on social media of people who are like getting off grid, trying to live off the land, not be so dependent on these things. Um, but ultimately, they're making money off of these videos and these things that they're doing. So it is still pretty consumer driven.
And it's the other end of the extreme,
Right.
right? It's just, you know, yeah, like the homesteading is like wonderful and so picturesque. And we're like, oh, I
Mhm.
would love a goat. I
Right.
would love a fucking goat, of course. But I think that's like the strong sense of self piece. And I talked about it with one of my best friends the other day, who just moved to Vancouver. And she's like this outdoorsy person. And she's like me. She's like, I want to have experiences. I want laughter. I want belly laughs. I want love in my life. I don't want to have to like manage stuff all day long. Like she's the type of person who just gets up in the morning, gets dressed and just goes outside. She like loves being in the woods and stuff. And she says, it's really hard to maintain my strong sense of self in this very consumer driven world. And so I think
Mhm.
many more of us are starting to, instead of feeling like, oh, I'm bad because I can't keep up with this ideal of success and money that I'm being sold to. And I think more people are going to be like, well, maybe the ideal is wrong. But I don't think we're there yet as a collective. I think the big cultural shift is not going to happen in 2025. But my hope is that, more of us are just going to focus on ourselves and be like, instead of, ticking all these boxes, maybe I just want to feel comfortable at home. Maybe I just want to not be preoccupied with money all the time. Maybe I don't want to feel like, I'm being baited every time that there's marketing or sales trying to get me to buy something. Maybe I don't want to walk around with this constant feeling of like my life isn't good enough, therefore I need to buy all this stuff or grow my business bigger, but instead have an honest conversation about what really works for me. And like, let's be clear, some of my clients' businesses are quite big. Like they do have a crazy, revenue and profit, and that is fine. But some of my clients' businesses are smaller. And so this conversation around what feels blissful financially for me, like what is my version of money bliss? I would love for more of us to have that conversation, but it is a bold step to opt out of the noise around money and success and to really, write our own story and a story that really feels good.
Do you think that that's something that comes with age? I know that we're having a struggle in teaching our daughter that right now, of course, because of this TikTok, Instagram culture. She sees all these people with all these things, and even at 7, thinks she's entitled to have these things. And we're trying to explain the concept of hard work and making money. And sometimes we sound like awful parents when we're like, well, go get a job and get a paycheck if you want that. But that is real life. Everything isn't just handed to you. Not everybody
Yeah.
makes money off TikTok. And um, I feel like it comes with age, wanting less, being happy with less.
Yeah. And having been like slapped in the face enough times, my clients, I call it the fuck it phase. I don't know if this is a scientific thing, but with my clients, when my clients turn like 38, 39, 40, 41, they often come to their calls and it's like they can make a pirate faint. They're just swearing. Like Samuel L. Jackson showed up to the call. They're just like, and I'm like, oh, it's your 40th birthday coming up soon, isn't it? And they're like, how do you know? I'm just so angry at everything. And it's that moment that they realize all those contracts that they've been sold were lies. Like the idea, if I go to school and I get a great job and I always make sure my boss is happy, then I'm going to be valued, then I'm going to get a promotion, then I'm going to be safe, and I'm finally going to have peace. And for them to realize that that is a lie. like
Correct.
perfection does not equal security,
Hmm.
or people being sold, the idea of, get a big car, get a big house, and you will be happy. And so it's often around this time of like late 30s, early 40s that my clients like wake up one day and like their eyes fly wide open and they're like, oh, it's been a lie. It's been all a lie. It's been all a lie. And
Yeah.
so I love those times. It's a big crisis for my clients in a very good way.
Okay.
And there's an
Well,
assistant coming in.
oh,
This is
hi.
Grace.
Mine are at school.
Hey, Gracie, this is Sarah.
Hi, Gracie. Well, we're not going to take any more of your mom's time. It has been great chatting with you today, Hannah. For all of my listeners, links to Hannah's page, her website, as well as a link to the Money Bliss site on Instagram. Of course, there will be information about her book. It sounds like it's a great starting point for anybody who's not sure and doesn't necessarily want to dive into the course. Give the book a read, see if Hannah's got something that you're more interested in. And all the course information is on your website, correct?
That is right.
All
And you're
right. Well,
welcome
it's
to
been
follow me on Instagram at Hannah Money Bliss. And you're welcome to say hi. I'm a real person. You can just say hi, tell me what you thought of the episode, and I'll make sure to let Sarah know as well.
great. So, Hannah's been so great talking with you today. So much great information, and I can't wait to check out the book.
Thank you. I'll talk to you soon.
Have a good day, guys.
Ich habe Joghurt gegessen.
I know that she just had some yogurt.